Oh, yeah. Is it... What's today? Thursday. Is it Thursday already, chat? Skeleton Crew Season 2 gets a huge update from Jude Law and the actress who plays KB. Also, the Acolyte has ruffled even more feathers as this crazy article came out about calling the Acolyte one of the greatest Disney Star Wars projects and saying the lightsaber duels in the forest were a top 3 lightsaber duel of all time, which, as you can assume, made Star Wars fans lose their minds. So we're going to talk about top 5 lightsaber duels today, Skeleton Crew Season 2, and even Oscar Isaac is talking about coming back to Star Wars. And I'm sure we'll get sidetracked as we usually do. But without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Thursday afternoon? Yeah, it's Thursday. And I don't think anybody said this today. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I didn't see it in the chat. But, so today's a crazy one. From Skeleton Crew to The Acolyte to the post-sequels with Poe Dameron coming back. We got an insane amount of news to talk about today. It is Carrie Ann Moss's birthday, so happy birthday, Carrie Ann Moss. And we are talking about The Acolyte, so nice. But before we dive into any of that, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? Let's start off the stream the right way. Haja, what is up? That Dave that loves Star Wars, nice name. Ron, how we doing? Brandon Baker in the house. Fearless, what is up? Robert, how we doing? Holly in the building. Adam, what is up? Cannibal the Dragon, how we doing? Nathan in the building. Cleve Morris, what is up? Mando United, how we doing? Agnes, what is up? Rachel, how we doing? Carmel Khan, what is up? How we doing? Carmel Khan? Sure. Isaac, what is up? Oscar Isaac? I don't know about that. Darth Plagueis Lives, how we doing? B-Man, what is up? 50 Thunder in the house. Derek, how we doing? Okay, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little,
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
That's a damn repeated shirt, Mike. I think you've worn that 3 times. Get new shirts. I only have so many shirts, okay? And I like wearing this shirt. God, I'm making it easy for you, chat. Only sometimes do I wear... I have like 30 Star Wars shirts. I just wear like the same 6. But it's because I like those shirts. You don't have a shirt that you like, huh? What's the deal with that? God. Okay. But we got to talk about a lot of different stuff today. And I'm already losing my voice, which is not a good start. But I think we got to start with the Acolyte of it all. These top 5 lightsaber duels in Star Wars. It's going to get interesting. So, without further ado, let's put up a poll in the chat, shall we? Let's do that. So, the article we're about to read here claims that the fight in the forest in episode 5 of The Acolyte is a top 3 lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. Okay? We're going to read the article and we're going to talk about it. But what I want to know is, do you think the lightsaber duels in The Acolyte are top 3 duels all time? Yes or no? Yes or no? Oh, we got a super chat early. I like that. 50 Thunder with a very generous $2 holla. The Scream Test. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Super chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. Okay. Oh, you did say droid shirt before going live. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Okay, but let's read this article first and dive into this. I do not want your membership. So this is coming from Forbes. Forbes magazine. Again, do magazines even really still exist, chat? I don't know. It's just Forbes.com now. But revisiting the inferno of The Acolyte 1 year later. I believe it was a couple days ago, but The Acolyte was canceled a year ago this week. So I don't remember if it was Wednesday or Tuesday, but at some point this week, a year ago, The Acolyte Season 2 was canceled and the show would not continue. Still a lot of fans holding out hope that there will be a second season of this show, like myself, but it's not looking too good. However, we still got to talk about this. So, this was published yesterday. The Acolyte was an experiment for Disney, a first attempt at taking the live-action projects fully outside the Skywalker era in a meaningful way, flinging the timeline back 100 years to the High Republic. Disney had mined that period to in print, since it bought Star Wars, but live action was the next step. So, the High Republic books, give me a 1 into the chat if you've read the High Republic books. I have read all of Phase 1, but never got into Phase 2 or Phase 3 yet. I have heard good things. I'll put it that way. I've heard really good things. They planned it from the beginning. It's a well thought out plan with new characters, a new threat that isn't the Sith, and just a cool story. The Acolyte is the tail end of that story, the High Republic story. So we only got to see the end of it in live action with Chimere, the Sith returning, Plagueis, and all that greatness. But it failed. Whether you like the Acolyte or not, there is no denying the fact that it's not getting a second season. That alone is, I guess, a failure. Like the show or not, or hate it, it failed. Despite ending with many loose ends and a huge implications for the Star Wars universe, Disney canceled it. And that was a year ago this week. Looking at just the math alone, it's hard to argue that this wasn't inevitable. The Acolyte costed an absolute absurd $230 million, and that number has changed, but it is around that 200 million mark, which is crazy when you compare it to like Kenobi, which was only 90 million. But when you compare it to Andor, which was over $500 million for the 2 seasons of that show, it kind of adds up, making it one of the most expensive per episode shows on TV. That A, was not very visible on screen. I don't know about that. The lightsaber duels we're about to talk about were pretty damn cool. And B, was the lowest viewed Disney Plus Star Wars series at the time. Incorrect yet again. Andor was less viewed, and so is Skeleton Crew. I guess that was after the fact. And C, it was ridiculous for Disney to believe that a show in this new era starring all new characters would put up any viewership that would justify that cost. Again, completely disagree. The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is all brand new characters, at least in season 1. All brand new characters. Din Djarin, Grogu, Greef Karga, Cara Dune, all brand new characters. Moff Gideon. In a timeline that isn't, it's in the Skywalker saga, but it's post-original trilogy and pre-sequel trilogy. In a space where we haven't explored yet. So The Mandalorian is the perfect example of how the Acolyte could have worked. All brand new characters in a new timeline. It's been done before, and it was a success before. The Mandalorian was a massive success for Disney. So I disagree with that. But, okay, I'm more than convinced that the also expensive, also little watched Andor, at least season 1, and again, brand new characters except for Cassian and Mon Mothma, would have possibly been canceled if it had not secured a second season deal up front. I don't know about this. If Andor season 1 came out after The Acolyte, then yes, maybe it wouldn't have gotten a second season. But the fact that it came out before, it was always going to get a second season. Yeah. All that said, it sucks that this happened and everything that followed. The Acolyte was an okay show, in their opinion, that ended pretty well. And in the middle, you could glimpse some true greatness. I will maintain that episode 5 of the series, one which the Stranger butchers an entire platoon of Jedi, including a number of characters that in no way seemed at risk, is a top 3 lightsaber fight in the history of Star Wars. So first things first, let's start with, do you agree with that? Do you think that this fight in episode 5, where the Stranger, Chimere, whatever you want to call him, Manny Jacinto's character, slaughters all these Jedi in the forest, characters that were main characters like Jecki, like Yord, who you didn't think were going to die, is that one of the best top 3, as they're saying here, lightsaber duels in Star Wars? What do we think, chat? While you tell me in the chat, I'll give you my take, okay? choreography-wise, it might be the best. Other than Anakin versus Obi-Wan on Mustafar, it might be the best. It's the argument. The argument is there. It's an entire, how long is that episode? Probably 35, 40 minutes. Let's see. Where's the Acolyte at? There it is. Episode 5. Why is it taking so long to load? Episode 5 is 35 minutes. I was spot on. It's a 35-minute episode of all lightsaber duels. The entire episode. It's different people fighting each other. It's like Chimera taking out all the side characters, much like Palpatine does when he fights Mace Windu. But I guess in more of a cool way where he's chopping off their heads and stabbing them through. But then he fights Yord individually. He fights Jekki individually. He fights Sol and Jekki. He kills Jekki, kills Yord, kills everybody except for Sol until later when Sol dies. But it's an entire 30-plus minute lightsaber duel. And the choreography, I mean, it's next level. It's probably, arguably, the best. Top 5, okay. It's top 5, not top 3. Okay. So now I ask the follow-up question. What is the best? What is the best lightsaber duel in Star Wars? What is top 5? There's an argument for, of course, many different fights throughout Star Wars. I'm sure many people have different lists. But tell me in the chat. What is the top 3? Is the Acolyte in there? Maybe for some of you. I really liked Sol. It is top 3. Number 1 is Anakin versus Obi-Wan. So, of the top 5-ish, give or take, you have some pretty great ones. You have your Revenge of the Sith, Anakin versus Obi-Wan's, of course, which is going to be number 1 for, I'm sure, many of you. You have your Obi-Wan versus Maul in the sand dunes of Tatooine, the Twin Sons episode in Rebels. You have your Luke versus Vader in Empire Strikes Back. You have your Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. You have, I threw that in there for just me, you know. But you have Anakin versus Ahsoka in The War Between Worlds. You have Palpatine versus Maul and his brother Savage in the Clone Wars. You have the Duel of the Fates and more. You have Maul versus Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. You have others, I guess. So what is that top 5? Or top 3? Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. Ahsoka versus Vader in Rebels. And Maul versus Ahsoka in Clone Wars Season 7. That's a pretty solid list right there. Oh, yes. Obi-Wan versus Vader in Kenobi. That's up there too. That is 100% up there too. It's honestly tough to make a top 5 list. Luke versus Vader has to be top in terms of emotions. True. Well, which Luke versus Vader? Episode 5 or episode 6? Because episode 5 obviously has the I am your father aspect of it, which if you saw that in theaters for the first time, you're going to have a completely different outlook on it than I do. But the lightsaber duel in Jedi is a lot quicker and longer. Yeah. Ahsoka versus Maul is one of my faves. Yeah. I mean, the coolest part of that fight at the end of Clone Wars Season 7 is the fact that they did motion capture for the actors, or at least for Ray Park, which was great. And you got to see Ray Park come back, which was even cooler. Yeah. Hang on, we got a super chat. Hang on. Ron with the very generous oh my God, another super chat. Ron with the very generous $5 holla says the choreography. Wait, what is that? I don't know what that is. On my end, it's just a weird box. But the choreography that they used with the Cortosis made it top 3 for me. That's also true. The Cortosis mask, when he's headbutting the lightsaber and deactivating it and then slicing their heads off, honestly, if you go back and watch episode 5 of The Acolyte, you might have forgot how good the lightsaber duel was. You got Manny Jacinto going absolutely insane, headbutting people, headbutting lightsabers, slicing their heads off, snapping people's necks. Like we're talking next level, next level, next level. Yeah, but I appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. Yeah, the Cortosis made it really, really cool. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $10 holla. Holy crap. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, best lightsaber duel for me is Luke versus Vader in Empire. Also, need Skeleton Crew Season 2. We'll talk about Skeleton Crew Season 2 in a sec, but I honestly think it goes underrated, that Luke versus Vader in Empire Strikes Back. It ends with the big reveal of him being his father. Spoiler alert! Vader is Luke's father. But even the lightsaber duel itself, when you go from Obi-Wan versus Vader in A New Hope, which is so unbelievably slow, you can even see the wire coming out of Obi-Wan's lightsaber. It serves its purpose, of course, because Obi-Wan just has to die to become more powerful than ever. But it's not really that cool. Like, they're not doing these cool spins and whatever. The upgrade from that to Luke versus Vader in Empire Strikes Back is like night and day. It's insane. And it's obviously because Luke is younger and he's now trained with Yoda a little bit and he's a lot quicker than Obi-Wan was in his old age. But still, the upgrade from A New Hope to The Empire Strikes Back for lightsaber duels was insane. So that definitely goes under the radar when you talk about best lightsaber duels in Star Wars. Yeah. Absolutely. Manny Jacinto's becoming a star in Hollywood. He had a few projects before Star Wars, but as per usual, Star Wars makes you a lot more of a household name. And especially when you play one of the coolest characters in the modern era, it helps out a little bit. Yeah, it helps out. The Grogu is backwards. Are you the first person to catch that, Adam? Who caught it first, chat? Who caught it first? Oh, Nico caught it first? I'll have to scroll back up and see who caught it first. Yeah. So for me, let's go back to me. Because it's all about me, you know. Top 3 for me, it always is Anakin and Obi-Wan at the number 1. So far, nobody has topped that Mustafar duel. So far. I'm hoping for the future. But Anakin versus Obi-Wan on Mustafar is number 1. Easy. Now, number 2 and 3 is where things get very complicated, to say the least. I think number 2 is episode 5 from The Acolyte. Choreography-wise, the Cortosis aspect of it, the fact that it's 9 Jedi versus 1 Sith and not just a one-on-one battle, the fact that it does not end the way you think it's going to end. Same, I guess, could be said about the Obi-Wan and Anakin one, but it doesn't end the way you think it's going to. He's killing all these Jedi, slicing their heads off, snapping necks, stabbing through the chest. It's got to be, I mean, that's it. So we're going Anakin versus Obi-Wan, episode 5 of The Acolyte, and then Duel of the Fates. I mean, it's got to be. They had to slow down Ewan McGregor and Ray Park because they were going so fast. That's how insane that lightsaber duel is. And talk about length of lightsaber duel. That one's a solid at least 20 minutes because it cuts back and forth between that battle and what's going on with Padme and Anakin in the final fight. And the Gungans too. So for me, top 3 lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars, they happen in that prequel era. And that is Anakin vs. Obi-Wan on Mustafar, The Acolyte, episode 5, and Duel of the Fates. Honorable mentions for me. You got to throw in Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. The Palpatine versus Maul and Savage on Mandalore is awesome. Maul versus Ahsoka at the end of Clone Wars Season 7 is awesome. Ahsoka versus Vader in Rebels is great. Well, yeah, that's got to be my top 3. That's got to be my top 3. So, with that being said, of course, tell me your top 3 in the chat. And I already see some people going crazy. Are you insane? Yes. I'll preface with that. Yes. The fight was terrible. People doing nothing. Light is off. People coming and going. Cortosis using only when he was to. Only when he was to. Padawan going against Sith is stupid. What was she supposed to do? Run away? The lights are off. Well, it is night. Hence the name of the episode. People doing nothing. I mean, their heads got chopped off. It's hard to do something when your head is removed from your body. Cortosis only using when he was to. When he wants to, maybe? I mean, he didn't have that much of a struggle when it came to killing these people. I think you got to go rewatch it. Skeleton Crew Season 2 is hype. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. Mike, what about the rematch of the Century in Kenobi? Yes. Well, my thing with the rematch of the Century in Kenobi is the lightsaber duel itself is cool. It is cool. It's definitely top 10. I don't know if it's top 5. The dialogue after is what makes it for me. Like, the lightsaber duel itself is cool. It's not on the same level as the Acolyte or Anakin vs. Obi-Wan on Mustafar or the Duel of the Fates or any of the ones I mentioned previously. It's the dialogue after that makes it in the conversation, and that's not a lightsaber duel itself. So the lightsaber duel is cool. It's not nearly as cool as the others. It's more so what's happening afterwards. Yeah. Top 3 for me: Luke vs. Vader in Return of the Jedi. Nice. Anakin vs. Obi-Wan in Duel of the Fates. Solid list right there. Top 3: Anakin vs. Obi-Wan, Duel of the Fates, and then Maul versus Ahsoka. High praise. High praise. Yeah. The duel choreography itself wasn't super memorable in Kenobi. It was more the emotional fueling of it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the same can be said about the Mustafar duel, but it also has great choreography. So it has both. It has great dialogue and great choreography. That's why it's the number 1. You know? Ahsoka and Maul meant more? I don't really know if it did. She had to defend her master until the end, even though she knew that deep down it might be true. I guess, but even if Maul kills Ahsoka there, it doesn't change anything. Maul survives anyway and escapes. So as great as the lightsaber combat is, in the setting being on Mandalore, it doesn't really mean much. It does lead to us getting a cool Maul hallway scene, though, which is great. Yeah. I like the duel in Empire, too. Yeah, I like the duel in Empire for sure. The Acolyte is 100% the best duel in the past 20 years. Interesting. Well, that would be putting it up against stuff like Maul versus Ahsoka on Mandalore. That would be putting it up against stuff like Maul versus Obi-Wan in the Twin Sons episode in Rebels, or Ahsoka versus Vader, or Obi-Wan versus Vader, or Sidious versus Maul and Savage. Anything after episode 3, I guess. That's an interesting point. Ahsoka versus Maul is largely about Ahsoka defending her master's integrity, goodness, and reputation. And guess what? All those things are being thrown out the window as they fight. He's turning to the dark side. His goodness is gone. His reputation is gone. His integrity is gone. Yeah. All those things are going out the window as they fight on Mandalore. Pretty much every duel in Star Wars is awesome. True. Don't get me wrong. I haven't even mentioned a sequel trilogy duel yet. But even those not favorite duels are still really good. I don't ever mention in this conversation Mace Windu versus Palpatine on Coruscant. And the reasoning for that is because the beginning of that fight is horrible. It's terrible. When they all walk in, Kit Fisto's there, the is it Master, starts with a T, I can't think of his name, but Palpatine goes, it's treason, then starts spinning like a wild man, and then just kills 3 Jedi Masters, sitting on the Council Jedi Masters like that. It's bad. It's my one gripe with Revenge of the Sith. It's my favorite movie of all time, Revenge of the Sith, and that's my only problem with the movie. That's it. The only problem. From start to finish, it's perfection, except for that one moment. So that's my only problem. So that's why that's not in the conversation. However, nobody's brought this up yet. Yoda versus Dooku in Attack of the Clones is one of my personal favorites. And then Yoda versus Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. It's more of just them throwing Senate seats at each other, which is, I guess, not really a lightsaber fight. But I think one of the most underrated lightsaber duels in Star Wars is that Yoda versus Dooku. It's also a Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Dooku. It's like a combined back-to-back lightsaber duel almost. But that lightsaber duel at the end of Attack of the Clones is so underrated. Watching Yoda jump around for the first time. When you see Yoda, if you are a fan who watched the original trilogy in theaters, you're introduced to this Yoda character who's walking around with a cane, can barely move at any speed at all. And then you see him in Attack of the Clones. Well, in Phantom Menace, you see him too, but he's still very slow with the cane, walking around. And then Attack of the Clones, he drops the cane, uses the Force to grab his lightsaber, and he's like, extremely underrated. Yeah. Yeah. I like Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Dooku. It's a good one. It is a good one. CGI Yoda equals new Coke. What does that even mean? Yeah. Oh, super chats. Hang on. We got some super chats, chat. Ron is going absolutely insane with a very generous $10 holla. Says, I love the animated lightsaber duels. They are outstanding, but I think they need to be separate from the movies in live action with choreography and actors' participation. I don't know if they need to be in a separate category because they still are lightsaber duels, but yeah, it's a lot more that goes into a live action lightsaber duel because there's limitations. In animation, you can do some crazy stuff. And they do. I mean, that fight specifically of Sidious versus Maul and Savage on Mandalore is insane. Imagine doing that in live action, where Palpatine walks in and forces the two of them up against the wall and then drops them, and they have this insane lightsaber duel all across Mandalore. That's hard to do in live action. Very hard to do. But I don't think they need to be separated when you're ranking them. Yeah. Ron with a very generous $10 holla again says Yoda versus Dooku. Yeah. Yoda versus Dooku is a extremely underrated lightsaber duel. Extremely underrated. Yeah. That was an excellent excited Kermit impression. Thank you. Thank you. I love Sidious versus Yoda. Yeah, not much lightsabers going on there, though. Because they're, again, just throwing around some Senate chambers. The new Coke has Star Wars on it? Yeah, I have seen that. But I don't get CGI Yoda equals new Coke. I think the Chimera fight was badass. Yes, I mean, episode 5 is badass in a whole 9 Jedi or whatever it is versus Chimera. And it's awesome. But even the finale of The Acolyte has some incredible lightsaber duels. Chimera versus Soul, but I guess it's the flashback one where Kelnaka, is it Kelnaka? Yeah, Kelnaka gets taken over by the witches and then they have to fight him too. Just all the choreography for The Acolyte was unbelievable. I forget who did it, but I believe I forget who worked on that. I forget. Yeah. Mike, are you rich? Seeing that I'm on here begging for super chats, I'm going to say no. With that being said, super chats memberships keep the lights on over here. So I appreciate it. Chimera versus Soul is very underrated. Yeah, it is. What's up, Clan Brandalorian? Easy for me to say. What's up, Brandon? How we doing? I wish we had more Kelnaka in action. Yeah, that was a big complaint. And a valid one, too. You have a Wookiee Jedi. You want to see him be all badass. We only really got to see him ignite his lightsaber once. I remember when he died at the beginning of episode 5 or the end of episode 4, whenever that was. And people were like, this is a huge waste opportunity. And I think I was saying the same thing. It was a huge waste opportunity. But we do eventually get to see him wield the lightsaber in the flashback episode, which was episode 7 or something. Yeah. It's okay. We got Gungi. We do have Gungi, too. He's a Wookiee Jedi. And he's still roaming around because he was in the Bad Batch. Yeah. Andrew, what's up? How we doing?
Hello there.
So, with all that being said, 61% of you in the chat right now say that yes, the Acolyte episode 5, the fight in the forest between Chimera and the 8 or 9 Jedi or whatever it is a top 3 lightsaber duel of all time, agreeing with this Forbes article. However, this article continues. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how they feel about the Acolyte. So let's keep going. So yes, I agree with this, and many of you do as well. Oops, hang on, you can't see that. That it is a top 3 lightsaber fight in the history of Star Wars. And I mean, this guy is pretty, badass. But the rest was just all right. I was never able to fully get on board with the Force Twins concept, even as it would end up hinting at how Anakin Skywalker was conceived. You could very much see the enormous waste of money, like the Starfighter chase, that did not need to exist in the show, where the best moments were the lightsaber fights in the woods and the 2 people talking in the cave. I don't know what Starfighter chase this is referring to. I don't know. It's hard to imagine a second season would need to cost anywhere close to that, and it probably wouldn't. Just because, yes, you'll get some more lightsaber duels, which would cost a lot, but all the sets have already been built, or not all, but most of the sets have already been built, the costumes already exist. It would cost a significant amount less to do a second season. But it would have been creatively interesting to see more at any price. Manny Jacinto's The Stranger, in particular, is one of the best original villains we've seen appear in Star Wars in the entire Disney era. Do you agree with that? Do you think Manny Jacinto's Stranger, or Chimera, whatever you want to call him, is one of the greatest original villains set up in the new Disney era of Star Wars? That means he's going up against Kylo Ren, Snoke, Moff Gideon, Baylan Skoll, who else is some villains from this era? I guess the Inquisitors. So the Grand Inquisitor, Grand Admiral Thrawn is Legends before. I'm blanking on other villains, I guess. But is he one of the best Disney era villains? Yes or no? What do we think? Maul? Well, Maul was created long before Disney took over. Yeah. Yeah. Alas, we must say goodbye to the Acolyte. Gotta let go of Chimera and his thirst trap peck shots. That's crazy. He's interesting, but then again, not the best. Okay. So if he's not the best, because I'm seeing a bunch of no's in the chat, well, I see a bunch of yeses too, but then who is? Who is the best Disney era villain? I guess I would say it's either Chimera or it's Kylo Ren. But Kylo Ren gets 3 whole movies, a whole trilogy of storytelling, and Chimera just gets a couple episodes in the Acolyte. So who is the best? What do we think? What do we think? Ron with the very generous $2 holla. I appreciate that, Ron. Says Mike, what do you think? Is he one of the best? Well, Ron, I'm glad you asked. Not only do I think he's one of the best, I think he is the best. I think Chimere is one of the best villains in Star Wars. Not Disney era, not in the last 10 years, 15 years, ever. Like, he's not on the same level as Vader and Palpatine, or Maul for that matter. In Legends characters are out of the picture here, so like no Revan or anything like that, or Bane. Just canon. He's not on the same level as Vader or Palpatine or Maul, but he's like the next tier under that. He's in there with your Tarkins, your Grievous's, your Count Dooku's, your Asajj Ventress's. That's the level where he's at for me. Like, he's one of the best villains in Star Wars. Period. And he is definitely the best since Disney took over. Yeah. Kylo is a whiny little bitch. That's crazy. Kylo was a little bit whiny, sure. Yeah. Baylan Skoll is the best. Baylan Skoll, I think, if Ahsoka Season 2 goes right, could be the best. Right now, I just don't have enough of him to say, because even in Ahsoka, there's not a lot of him. Like, he's only in maybe half the episodes. Orson Krennic. Orson Krennic's good. Yeah. Not better than Chimere. Dedra Miro, again, good. Not better than Chimere. Not even close. Baylan Skoll, if he ends up being a true villain, that's true. Baylan's not really even... He doesn't see himself as a Sith Lord. He doesn't really see himself as a villain at all. He was once a Jedi. Kylo Ren has an interesting story, and his redemption was awesome. Yes, I agree with that. I think he has the best arc in the sequels, for sure. Yeah. I love Maul because he looks awesome with his double-bladed lightsaber. Yeah, and he's getting another one for the show. 100%. Yeah. They should have never made the Force Unleashed, still holding on to the thought that Starkiller might eventually arrive in canon. I don't think they should have never made the Force Unleashed. It's still a great game, and Starkiller's still a great character. He's just way too powerful to be brought into the canon of Star Wars, especially as Vader's apprentice. If people were okay with Starkiller coming in somewhere else in the timeline, then maybe. But he can't be Vader's apprentice because we have so much of Vader's story already filled out. Pretty much every weekend that Vader ever had, we've seen in comics, in shows, in anything. We've seen a lot of Vader, and there is no Starkiller to be found. So it'll be very, very difficult to see Vader get an apprentice that we just never knew about. Yeah. Luke was whiny too. I guess it runs in the family. And so is Anakin. I mean, the Skywalker bloodline is known for being whiny. Uncle Owen, this droid has a bad motivator. You know? He's whiny. But that's sort of the hero's journey that he goes on. He goes from being the Uncle Owen to the heroic Jedi Master or Jedi Knight at the end of Return of the Jedi. Same can sort of be said about Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, for sure. He's got the very short temper. When he gets the bad news, he takes out his lightsaber and starts slicing the panel in front of him. And then by Rise, he's a little bit more stable, I guess. When he comes back to the light, he definitely is. But it's more of the character development there. But the Anakin bloodline is just a bunch of whiny babies, you know? Shouldn't be the Skywalker saga. It should be the whiny baby saga. Star Wars Order, what's up? I love Baylan Skoll. He doesn't seem like a villain. He's just disillusioned and finding his way through the universe, as Boba Fett says, or as Jango Fett says. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Baylan versus Ahsoka in Ahsoka Episode 4 is a top 5 fight. Interesting. Mike, crazy that you didn't mention that. I didn't mention that. And it is a good fight, but it's not top 5. Maybe Anakin versus Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds is top 10. But even that fight, even as much as I am a Ahsoka fan, I don't have it in my top 3. No. Not even close. Not a top 5 villain. He gets carried away by giant mosquitoes. Okay. Valid. Valid. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. I thought Leia was just mean. Yeah. Leia wasn't whiny. She got more of the Padme in her. Padme wasn't whiny. Yeah. Okay, but let's keep reading. So tell me in the chat, is Chimere one of the best Disney era villains, or is he one of the best Star Wars villains just in general? And now he's lost to the sands of time with no Acolyte Season 2 and no more confirmed High Republic projects coming. So the possibility of never seeing Chimere again is what has people sort of disappointed because he was such a cool character. Not only did they play the Knights of Ren theme when in that 5th episode, and there was something alluding to the Knights of Ren, maybe he was the beginning of the Knights of Ren or the leader of the Knights of Ren. Whatever that is, we'll never find out. Hopefully someday we'll find out, but as of right now, we'll never find out. But we cannot get through this without mentioning the absolute insane hate for the show, its stars, and its showrunner God. At one point, it became an entire industry to print out YouTube videos positively bathing in bile about this show, ranging from thousands of views to hundreds of thousands of views. It completely drowned the conversation about the show on social media, as even mentioning the Acolyte would quickly dissolve into shouting about wokeness and ruining canon. Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I'm sure many of you do too on this channel. Now, maybe some of you weren't around the channel at this time, but it felt like we were on an island in the middle of nowhere, and nobody was coming to rescue us. Like, I felt like because I liked this show that I was wrong. I thought I was like missing something. And then a bunch of you also liked it, which was great. So we had sort of that similarity there. But there was a while there where I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, this is good. Maybe I've lost my mind. And maybe I did lose my mind. Maybe I've already lost my mind. I think I've lost my mind. But I still like the Acolyte. After rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, I still like the Acolyte. And yes, when you went online and even mentioned the Acolyte, still to this day sometimes, when you even mention the Acolyte, a big old brawl begins and people argue about this and that and giant mosquitoes. That's hilarious. But wokeness or the breaking of canon, which is a big deal for many of you, which, again, never happened. The big argument for the Acolyte was it's going to break canon because Chimere's existence of a red lightsaber, calling himself a Sith in the forest, that's going to get back to the Jedi and break canon. Guess what? It never got back to the Jedi. All those Jedi in the forest died. But having said that, that was a big argument online, and wherever you went, the Acolyte hate followed all over the place. And yes, as we know, hate sells. Hundreds and millions of the billions of views on just hate on the Acolyte. It sells. But upon closer inspection by people who actually understood Star Wars, I don't really like that at all. You know, that's alienating people who like Star Wars but don't follow everything, and you know, it goes both ways. It was in fact the case that each thing brought up never actually broke canon. Shocker. This was something that showrunner Leslie Headland worked to make sure was the case. At a certain point, none of it made sense until you dug into the ugly side of it, as no one took more hate than Amanda Steinberg. She was the lady who played both May and Osha. The star who visibly and self-admittedly took an immense amount of racial harassment during the course of this show, to which critics said, no, she didn't. as if that was some sort of counter. You know, a great one at that. But there was no denying, I mean, the hate that a lot of the actors got, not just Amanda Steinberg, but others as well. The actor who played Yord for mistakenly saying Anakin instead of Luke. That was a big deal. A big deal. But a lot of the actors and showrunners and creatives got a lot of hate on there. And this was the biggest argument, was it broke canon, which it never did. But let's keep reading in a sec. I got a super chat. Alexander Wilson with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that. Says the Acolyte was poorly written. Characters' motivations changed every 5 seconds. You're going to have to elaborate on that one a little bit more. When? And the bad thing in the past was that the Jedi defended themselves. Well, no. Sol made the wrong decision. He allowed his attachment, which Jedi are not supposed to have, to Osha to cloud his judgment and go back there, which eventually led to the Jedi having to kill all the witches. It was his attachment to the girl and her wanting to be, or him wanting her to be his apprentice, which eventually ended in all their demise. Now, yes, that was a mistake, but they weren't really defending themselves. The Night Sisters were defending them, or not Night Sisters, the witches, because Night Sisters are on Dathomir. The witches were defending themselves first from the Jedi. Yeah. Now that Mike who loves Star Wars, what's up? But characters' motivations changing every 5 seconds. You got to elaborate on that, because maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed that. But I don't see any of that. Yeah. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You let me know. The Acolyte was also the most hated Star Wars project I've ever seen in a world where The Last Jedi exists. I mean, that's debatable. The Last Jedi hate was, enormous. But I think debates about The Last Jedi are more widespread because a lot more people watched the movie. It still made over $1 billion. So many people went to go see The Last Jedi. And not as many people watched The Acolyte. But per capita, in terms of The Acolyte's viewership, it's not especially close. The Acolyte is no better or worse than half of Disney era's productions, and yet it was treated like it was turning George Lucas into ash where he stood. In the wake of cancellation, there is the fact a Save the Acolyte or Renew the Acolyte movement from fans was fought valiantly against the hate campaigns and just wanted more. I signed the thing, Renew the Acolyte. I want more. I want a season 2. I want more Plagueis. I want more Chimere. I want more Venestro and Yoda and figuring that whole thing out with the scars on his back with the light laser whip. Did she actually do that to her apprentice? Is Tenebrous still around? I want a young Palpatine to be thrown in there. But a man can dream. If anything, they were more mad at Disney than anyone else and believed they caved those groups and shelved the show. I mean, I guess. It was hard to not cancel a season 2 when all those people were screaming so loud about the hate for this show. It was impossible to deny, and canceling the second season, as much as I hate the idea of doing so, was the right move. It 100% was the right move. Now that things have died down, well, then maybe you can come back and do it, Maybe you can come back and do it. Yeah. Maybe. Is that the case? Well, I mean, I don't think that Disney was deaf to all this. Obviously, they saw what was happening online. But if this was a cheap show putting up big numbers, I don't think any of it would have mattered. Instead, Disney allowed the colossally bloated budget to feed into the show that needed its first season to find its legs. If it was set up to fail. Again, that could have been true for Andor season 1 as well. The no-name character, the massive cost, the low viewership, but the show had a 2-season deal. And more importantly, was the single best Star Wars content ever produced, short of, I would argue, 2 or 3 of the original trilogy movies. Now, this argument here is a very, objective opinion, but Andor has the no-name characters, the massive cost, and the low viewership, the same as the Acolyte. But they had a 2-season deal beforehand. Now, when you look at Andor, now that we've seen season 2, and it was a masterpiece, it's not... I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think that the Acolyte season 2 could have been at the same level as Andor season 2, because that's a very high bar to reach. However, it was never given the chance to do so. Season 2s, at least in Star Wars, have always tended to be better. Clone Wars season 2, Mando season 2, Andor season 2, Rebels season 2, Bad Batch season 2. They are all better. For one reason or another, I think season 1s have a great way, especially in the Star Wars universe, of setting up characters, introducing you to those characters, giving you those characters' dynamics with each other, especially the Ghost crew in Rebels, or Omega in the Bad Batch, or even Din and Grogu. And then when it comes to the second portion of that story, the second season, it's always better because you already know these characters. You get to explore more cool things like Luke showing up or Boba Fett showing up or Ahsoka coming back in Rebels and Vader coming in Rebels, or in the Clone Wars, you dive into way cooler stuff like the Mandalorian arcs and bringing back Maul in the later seasons and doing the Mortis God stuff. Like, you have more of a backing after season 1. Season 1 is just setting the groundwork. But with the Acolyte, they never got the opportunity to do so. Season 2 could have been a masterpiece. It could have been terrible, but it could have been a masterpiece. It could have been like all the other season 2s of Disney or season 2s of Star Wars have been a lot better because of the setup in season 1, because of Kymir's setup in that forest, because of the scars on his back, because of the backstory between him and Vanestra, because of the setup for Darth freaking Plagueis. Like, it could have been so much better than season 1. And I liked season 1. But that's sort of the issue I have with it. Yeah. Where they're saying here that Andor now is maybe the single best piece of Star Wars content ever produced, short of 2 of the 3 OT movies, original trilogy movies. You agree with that, or maybe some of you agree with that now? That's because season 2 was so good. Season 2, episode 8 and 9 are some of the best Star Wars content to ever exist. Not in the Disney era, not in the last 5 years, ever. And that's because of the setup of season 1. What if episode 5 and 6 of season 2 of The Acolyte were the same way? We'll never know. What if Plagueis, there was a time jump and Plagueis is either training Kymir or killing Kymir or whatever happens there, and then he finds young Palpatine. And season 3 turns into a young Palpatine show. And season 4 turns into Palpatine getting Darth Maul and then killing Plagueis. And it leads directly into the Phantom Menace because it's the Acolyte. The Acolyte is Osha. The Acolyte could then turn into Palpatine. The Acolyte could then turn into, after that, Maul, because Maul is an Acolyte. When Palpatine trains Maul, Plagueis is still alive, meaning the apprentice to the apprentice of a Sith Lord is the Acolyte by definition. So in the Phantom Menace, Maul is an Acolyte, so the title of the show could continue to be true. But low viewership on Andor is laughable to say. Season 1 was the lowest viewed Star Wars show ever. Laugh all you want. It's the truth. Andor, as good as Andor is, it didn't draw the attention of just normie people because they didn't know about it. They didn't care. Who is Andor? I don't know. It's not Obi-Wan. It's not Anakin. It's not Vader. It's not Luke. It's not a character I know of. There's no legacy characters attached. There's no lightsabers involved. There's no big explosions or anything. Things that get the attention of normie fans, they just weren't there. So Andor Season 1 is one of the lowest viewed things ever for Star Wars. But it still got a second season. We don't really know that Plagueis died, though. True. I mean, when it comes to canon, the Acolyte would have laid the groundwork for what happened with Palpatine, with Plagueis, with Maul. what happened before the Phantom Menace. That would have laid the groundwork, because right now in canon, we don't know. As the Max Rebo experience says, we don't actually know the plague has died. That happens in a Legends novel. Yeah. Andor was special for some fans. I'm not saying that Andor wasn't good, because it was. I mean, we watched it together here. It was unbelievable. But the viewership numbers don't lie. I'd rather see a prequel than a season 2, because everyone I liked got killed off. Jecki, Yord. True. They did get the prequel novel. It's called The Crystal Crown. Okay. I have not read that yet. But I don't know. As much as I love Jecki and Yord and Indara and Torben and Kelnaka, they serve their purpose in the story. Like, that was the cool part about it. This is called The Acolyte. This isn't called the Jedi of the High Republic. This is called The Acolyte. This is about the bad guys. So Kymir going in and killing all of them was awesome. Getting a prequel story of those characters would be cool. And I guess there are now in books. You got an Indara and Vanestra Rove book, which I cannot think of the name of for the life of me. And then you got The Crystal Crown, which is about Jecki and Yord. So you have your prequel stuff. We need a continuation of the bad guys, of the main characters of the story, which is Osha, May, and Kymir. Yeah. But, yes, The Acolyte, even if you liked it, wasn't anywhere close to that, clearly. Well, again, a very objective opinion. Okay. Disney seems paralyzed with Star Wars right now. The only movie that we are 100% going to see is the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Wrong. I mean, we are 100% going to see Starfighter. It starts filming in like a couple weeks here. They've already casted a bunch of the crew. They've already started pre-production. They've already built sets. Like, it's happening. But the spinoffs and possible finale of The Mandalorian, Ahsoka is going to get a second season 3 years after the first one. That's insane. Andor is over. The Acolyte is dead. And I think most people have forgotten or didn't realize that Skeleton Crew even existed, which is a shame. This is the most factual sentence in this whole article. It's a shame that people don't remember about Skeleton Crew, because Skeleton Crew is so good and went completely under the radar. But we'll be talking about a season 2 today. We'll be talking about it. It's called Wayseeker. Thank you. It feels like Disney is not going to take any creative risks for the foreseeable future. Hopefully that changes with Dawn of the Jedi, an upcoming movie that will take place 25,000 years in the past. But I will believe it. I will believe that when they make it to the finish line. When I'm sitting in the theaters, fool me 8 times and all of that. Well, true. But them not taking risks, I actually completely disagree with. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, as much as it is a guaranteed success because of the success of The Mandalorian on Disney+, The Mandalorian itself was a risk. Grogu himself was a risk. So anything they do with those characters will continue to be that way, especially with Grand Admiral Thrawn being the heir to the Empire. The Acolyte was a strange, short chapter in Star Wars' history. It was, I think it is worth watching at least once. I think it is a shame that we won't get to see where it was trying to go. Could not agree more. I think the hate that it got was wildly out of proportion. It's hard to take anyone who participated in that seriously again. But I think that it was always going to die like this with that kind of budget, and impossible viewership demands to match Disney's idiotic expectations. Kind of disagree with this yet again. The budget they keep bringing up over and over again, Andor had a far bigger budget, and it still got its second season, and it's still a very good show. So I kind of disagree. Impossible viewership, again, Andor didn't have the viewers either. But I agree with some aspects of this article, and I disagree with a lot of them too, but that's, how it usually goes. Them saying that the fight in the forest in episode 5 is a top 3 lightsaber duel all time, I completely agree with. Kymir being one of the best Disney-era villains, I completely agree with. The Acolyte, it's undeniable the hate that it got. The reason for it being canceled is rightfully so. but the want for a continuation of those characters, a want for more Chimere, more Plagueis, and more of that story is still there. Not just for me, but for many of you, I'm sure, too. Tell me in the chat, do you want an Acolyte Season 2? Do you want a continuation of Chimere's character and Darth Plagueis and the others? Because I think it's going to be a resounding yes. Even if you didn't like the first season of The Acolyte, some sort of continuation of that story needs to happen. You can't just have that big cliffhanger in Star Wars and leave it there, especially in the canon of Star Wars. Everything usually comes to a close when it comes to Star Wars. There's not a lot of cliffhangers left hanging out there. But tell me in the chat. And with that, even this article gives us the perfect transition over to Skeleton Crew Season 2, because Skeleton Crew, not a lot of people watch that show either. However, it's unbelievably good. It's much like Andor Season 1. Not a lot of people watch that. I guess the budget for Skeleton Crew is not nearly as big as Acolyte or Andor, but not a lot of people watched it, and it was great. And a Season 2 might be able to connect to all the other aspects of the Mandoverse and Star Wars as a whole. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. And while we do that, actually, let me put up a poll. Do you want a Season 2 of Skeleton Crew? I know it took, what is it, August? It took almost 8 months for us to talk about Skeleton Crew Season 2. Really, though, when Skeleton Crew ended, shortly after they dropped the trailer for Andor, and a lot of news came out about Star Wars Celebration, and then Tales of the Underworld, and Skeleton Crew just got forgotten about because we just moved on to the next thing. But the importance of Ad-Adden, the characters of Neil, Wim, Fern, KB, Jod, they will appear again in this Mandoverse. Whether it's a Skeleton Crew Season 2, which we're going to talk about right now, or in the Mandoverse movies, Mandalorian and Grogu movie, or Ahsoka Season 2, or Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie, crossover event movie. So tell me in the chat, do you want a Skeleton Crew Season 2? And let's dive into why we're even talking about this in the first place. So first things first, this happened yesterday. Skeleton Crew star Karina Crater, sure. The girl who plays KB wants a Season 2 of the Star Wars show. As she said this, I really hope we can get back together and see each other again soon. It was a wonderful journey. Now, she is not the only reason we're here talking about this, because Jude Law himself, Jod Nawood, is also talking about a possible return, as he is promoting his new movie called Eden. I believe it's called Eden, yes. Eden, yes. Which is going to be hits theaters tomorrow. So this movie that he's promoting right now that includes Vanessa Kirby, Ana de Armas, Daniel something, Sydney Sweeney, and Felix Kramer. Sure. I don't know anything about this movie, honestly, so, I mean, that's a pretty loaded cast, but either way, he's on a press tour for this movie, and he's talking about Star Wars. So we're going to read this in a second, but also the creators of Skeleton Crew Season 1, John Watts and Christopher Ford, have said that they have a plan for a Season 2, and they already have it in place that they will have a big time jump in between Season 1 and Season 2 so that the kids look older, because they're going to look older, unlike they did with Stranger Things, which is a big issue people have with Stranger Things because these kids are like 22 years old now playing 14-year-olds. That won't happen with this show because they have that in place for these kids to look older in a Season 2. But, okay, take a look at this. Jude Law compares Skeleton Crew to Ron Howard's Eden. Here we go. Star Wars has been on a roll the past year. Look at this. Can we take a second? Can we take a second, chat? The last article we talked about was how much Star Wars is in turmoil. how Star Wars is struggling so bad. How Star Wars has never been worse. In the opening sentence for the next article that we read is that Star Wars has been on a roll. Star Wars is doing great. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It is pretty crazy. But Star Wars has been on a roll for over the past year. Between the finale of Andor Season 2 and the upcoming return of Rebuild the Galaxy, which we watched the trailer for last stream, everywhere you look, Disney Plus has some excellent slate of tales from the galaxy far, far away. But one show proved to be a sleeper hit for the streamer when it landed late last year. And it was everything, as the great Luthen once said, that the franchise has sorely needed of. Star Wars Skeleton Crew was an utterly enjoyable coming-of-age story from the creative minds of John Watts and Christopher Ford that tapped into uncharted waters and planets, playing on beloved themes of classic Amblin stories, like a Stranger Things / Goonies meets Star Wars. While the ragtag band of children, Wim, Neil, Fern, and KB, were a lot of fun to watch grow and learn, one character appealed to the older demographic, a washed-up rapscallion, great word, with terrible luck and a complicated past with the Jedi Order, Jod Nawud. Now, Jod being a Force user, we learned his backstory. He only really trained with the Jedi for like a couple weeks until she was murdered in front of his own eyes. So we never got the confirmation of who that Jedi was. But Jod does have the Force, and he is a pirate. Was never actually a Jedi himself. Maybe a Boken Jedi at best, but still. So, ahead of the long-awaited release of Ron Howard's historical epic, Eden, again, never even heard of it, but sounds cool, I had the opportunity to chat with Howard and Jude Law. Naturally, the topic of Skeleton Crew was broached as a longtime fan of the pirates, both in and out of the Star Wars universe. Jod was an instant hit with me. While the character had many memorable moments throughout the series, one moment stood out particular in episode 6, Zero Friends Again, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. Jod sings a little sea shanty. Try saying that 10 times fast, chat. Jod sings a little sea shanty, which adds new layers to the character. But let's be honest, the best moment of Jod was when he scared the kids and pulled out the lightsaber, and we all thought he was going to slice their heads off. But that wasn't how the scene was initially intended to be played, as the episode's director shared with me during a post-mortem. Back in January, Bryce Dallas Howard shared that it was just supposed to be a poem, and Jod came in and was like, what do you think if I sang this, if it was a shanty of sorts? Because that's kind of what pirates do and how the lore carries on. We were like, yes, please. We would like that very, very much, Jude Law. If you would like to sing for us, that would be fantastic. When asked about that precise moment, Jude Law chose to heap praise to Bryce Dallas Howard, whose father is, of course, Ron Howard, sitting right next to him. So here's what he had to say. Well, the joy of the whole experience was specifically with Bryce Dallas Howard. Sounds like he's just kissing up to her father, who's sitting right next to him. And of course, I'll say this because we've got Bryce's dad here. That was extraordinary about the whole. What was extraordinary about the whole experience was the collaboration. This was a sweet spot of storytelling, and it was the same with Eden. The stars aligned, and you look at its potential, and you're thrilled and excited at what's on your lap. Of course, being in the Star Wars universe is pretty great, but being in a Ron Howard film is probably pretty cool too. With the right team around you, as with Eden and as with Skeleton Crew, there's a sense of trust. You all know, or you all You all know that. Given the right moment, given the right encouragement, you will bring something more out of the moment. And that happened every day on Eden. It happened every day on Skeleton Crew. Now, they go on to talk a little bit more about Eden and stuff like that. However, he talks about season 2. Maybe it's not in this article. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. He talks about getting a... Wait, what? Oh. Why did that... Hang on, Chet. There's a new Ray book coming out that just got announced. This is not what I was looking for, but this is kind of cool. Brand new Audible original is coming starring Ray. Jaws of Jakku. October 9th. The more you know. Okay, that was not what I was looking for. Hang on. Hang on, Chad. Skeleton Crew. Here we go. Here we go. This is more like it. Aha. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So, during this interview with Screen Rant for the upcoming movie Eden, he talks about the possibility of seeing these characters again, whether he'll appear again. Do you guys remember? Give me a 1 into the chat if you remember this. But a few months ago, we were talking about how Jude Law is reported to be in multiple upcoming Star Wars projects. Whether that be the Mandalorian and Grogu movie or Ahsoka Season 2 or a Skeleton Crew Season 2, the report was Jude Law will be in Star Wars a lot more. You guys remember that? So maybe they're talking about Skeleton Crew Season 2, or they could be talking about this. Any place where Jude Law could appear in. Take a look at this. Jude Law says this. Well, you kind of put the answer in my mouth. I was thinking that I hope you're going to get to see the man again, Jod Nahwood. And he's thinking there must be a way out of this so my story can continue. Where we last see Jod, he's on at Atten, watching the pirate ship fall as the New Republic arrives. So we assume that he's going to be captured by the New Republic as a prisoner. Now, Moff Gideon, just recently in The Mandalorian Season 3, escaped a New Republic prison. And you can assume that Jod could probably do something similar. What I think's going on here is at Atten is still the key to this Grand Admiral Thrawn story. A place where there's a old Republic mint that can print credits. That's the most important thing for Thrawn for this war. And it just so happens that at Atten is directly right next to Dathomir on the whole map of Star Wars. Let me pull that up. Star Wars map. It just so happens that when you look at this whole big map on StarWars.com, whoops, Dathomir, which is where Grand Admiral Thrawn is at the end of Ahsoka Season 1, is right next to at Atten. So it's highly likely that the first location that Thrawn is going to take over, first planet that Thrawn's going to take over, is at Atten to get funding for his army. And it just so happens that on at Atten, there's a prisoner, a Force user prisoner named Jod Nahwood. So maybe not in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but if there was a Skeleton Crew Season 2, or even in Ahsoka Season 2, Jod could be here as a prisoner, saved by Grand Admiral Thrawn, and maybe even start working with Grand Admiral Thrawn, which would be crazy. But that's definitely not a coincidence. Where was my article? Right here. So, there must be a way out for Jod, and that would be the way out. Scream Rant went on to ask this. Have you heard any updates, or are you confident that we'll see Jod again? Jude Law had to say this. I'm sure you'll appreciate that there's so many moving parts to that colossus. Sorry. All I can say is that we had a really exceptional time making it. It was done with such grace, spirit, and inclusion and collaboration. I had a ball, and at times was allowed to overindulge. Sorry. I think in my own childhood fantasies of being in the Star Wars universe, but I was very, very pleased with the result and very happy to have had the opportunity to work in the extraordinary group of directors. So he doesn't say yes or no here. When asked, will we see Jod ever again? Will we see the cast and crew ever again? He's clearly in the conversations about coming back. Maybe he's already been back in filming for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie or Ahsoka season 2. Or he just maybe already knows that they're doing a second season of Skeleton Crew. When we look out onto the horizon for Star Wars projects on Disney Plus, the only one left is Ahsoka season 2. So there's no other live action projects after that. Skeleton Crew season 2 would be the perfect one to continue that live action storytelling on Disney Plus. But it's also just as likely that Jod could be in anything else. Yeah. Can't say I remember no ad-atin.
This is where the fun begins.
So with that, tell me in the chat, do you think we are getting a Skeleton Crew season 2? Do you think that Jude is lying here and telling us that there is going to be more of Jude Law? And then they go into what this means for the future, blah, blah, blah. He could appear, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you get the gist. I think they've been setting up this character of Jod specifically to have this redemption arc. Because he's a bad guy, obviously, in Skeleton Crew in the first season. But he still doesn't kill the kids. He's getting more of a good side to him, even though he's just had a horrible childhood. He's had this horrible backstory where he didn't have the greatest upbringing and he became a pirate. So that's all he knows. And then these kids taught him something else. Yeah. Interesting. I'm seeing a lot of yeses, and Mike, we better get a second season. It's very interesting because of the conversation we just had about The Acolyte. The fact that the viewership numbers for The Acolyte are a big reason as to why it doesn't get a second season. Obviously, there's the budget aspect and the fan reaction to season 1 aspect. Skeleton Crew has the same issue where not a lot of people watched it. Not a lot. So will it get a second season? That's the question. Right now in this poll, 86% of you, almost 90% of you guys say yes, you do want a second season of Skeleton Crew. I agree with you. It's just a matter of, will they actually do it? Yeah. I can see more Jod. I'm not certain about how much more of the kids' story will continue. Well, I think the kids would have to be along with it too. The way that the kids' story ends in Skeleton Crew, Wim has a lightsaber. You know, he's just hanging out with a lightsaber. They set him up to maybe be a Force user. He doesn't wield the Force, but maybe to be a Force user later down the line. Maybe be a Padawan in Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple. That'd be pretty crazy. Can I get some good Cubs follow orders in the chat, please? Bumpa. But if they're bringing back the characters of Skeleton Crew, Neil was the fan favorite. Neil was the guy. So they'd have to bring him back. My favorite was KB. I don't know. If you're going to bring back Jod, you're probably going to bring back the kids too. I wish we got more of Brutus. He was awesome. He was cool, but his death was pretty crazy too. I did not see that coming. Yeah. It'd be great to see the characters older. Well, they're going to have to be older because Skeleton Crew came out in January, or ended in January, and it stopped filming like probably a year before that. So you're talking 2023. It's been over 2.5 or a year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half since these kids filmed for Skeleton Crew, they're already going to look completely different. A 9, 10, 11-year-old kid in just 2 years looks completely different. So they're going to grow fast. So there's going to have to be some sort of time jump for the next time we see these kids. Cathalops. I forgot about Cathalops. What a man. He was the GOAT. My favorite was Fern. Fern was great. Fern, actress, has left to go do the Buffy reboot. Yeah, I have seen that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing. I mean, she could do both. Not that hard to do. Actors do it all the time. Are you saying he's going to die, Mike? Well, yes. I think, well, if Wim does go to join Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, well, we know where that ends. Ben Solo slaughters them all, so he would die there. We need a show about Jod's backstory. Well, not a full-on show, but maybe like a Tales episode. Tales of the Pirates, and get Jod's backstory. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Brandon, what's up? The rumors for Kenobi Season 2 sound cool. Yeah, we talked about those on Tuesday. It's tough, you know? It's tough. They need to show Kanan Jarrus and Ahsoka. Well, he's dead, but maybe flashbacks well, there's a photo of Kanan in Season 1. Yeah. I doubt that everyone at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple died. Maybe some of them escaped and went into hiding. Yeah, well, you also have to assume that some of them just weren't at the Jedi Temple when it was destroyed. This isn't an Order 66-like thing. There wasn't Palpatine and a clone army to do this.
Execute Order 66.
This was just the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren going to Luke's Jedi Temple and killing all the people there. There was no clone army to do the job at the same time all across the galaxy. So yeah, he probably missed a few. But he has to kill a bunch of ones that we care about too. So Wim might be one of those. Hondo Unaka and Jod Na Nawad for Tales of the Pirates. Oh, I would so watch that. Disney, if you're watching, and we know that you are, make that happen. Hondo Unaka, who should be in live action soon, hopefully, and Jod Na Nawad animated in a Tales story. That'd be great. That would be great. Oh, I missed some super chats. Hang on. Hang on, chat. Oh, I missed 2 super chats. Alexander with a very generous $5 holla says reports came out from the Wrap that Andor's viewership eclipsed the viewership of Kenobi and Ahsoka over the years. Well, you're talking about Andor Season 1 and Season 2 over the course of the, 3 years now since the first season came out? That doesn't really surprise me, actually. Because Andor did have that long after effects. Like, nobody watched it when it was coming out. Nobody watched it when it was coming out. And then people heard that it was good and they checked it out. And then when Season 2 came out, everybody rewatched Season 1. And people who didn't watch Season 1 watched it as well. Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me. And Ahsoka Season 2 hasn't come out either yet. Also, the actress who played Fern was cast for Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the sequel. She probably won't be in Season 2. Well, she definitely could be doing both. I mean, look at Pedro Pascal. He's in 3 movies that are in the theaters right now. And he did the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. He's doing Avengers Doomsday all at the same time. He filmed the Fantastic Four and Mando at the same time. And there's going to be off times for both projects. So they're doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer right now. So then they'll just wait till that's over and do Skeleton Crew Season 2 after. If they're going to do that. Yeah. But I appreciate the super chat. I really do. Kanan Jarrus deserves a Force Ghost? Well, maybe, but he didn't learn to do that. Kanan, as great as Kanan is as a character, he's not that powerful. He's like, when he goes toe-to-toe with Vader in Season 2, you immediately see that he's not, you know? Positive word of mouth is an amazing thing. Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, that's what Star Wars was built off of. The original Star Wars wasn't supposed to be a success. People saw it and went, oh my God, this is good. I'm telling everyone I know that Star Wars is awesome. Yeah. I was so shocked that Hondo Ohnaka was never in Skeleton Crew. Me too. Well, Skeleton Crew completely went the opposite direction where nobody was in it. Nobody. Leia could have been in it. Harrison Dula could have been in it. Carson Teva could have been in it. Hondo Ohnaka could have been in it. Nope, nobody. Maz Kanata? Nope. It's almost the same thing they did with The Mandalorian. Mando Season 1 has nobody in it. No cameos, no nothing. However, Season 2, it's got Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker, of course. It's got all these different cameos. Max Rebo could have been in it. I don't know about that one, though. He kind of died. Blew up in Book of Boba Fett. Well, it is also Darth Vader. True, I mean, Kanan shouldn't stand toe-to-toe with Vader, but Ahsoka puts up a fight, you know? Obi-Wan would put up a fight, or does put up a fight. Yeah. Cal Kestis could have been in Skeleton Crew. True. Yeah. He was blind then? No, he fights Vader before he's blind, no? I think when he actually gets blinded by Maul, he becomes more powerful. He becomes more in tune with the Force. Yeah. Now, Rebo wasn't at the bar that night. He had the night off. Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. I wasn't at Garza's sanctuary when it blew up. Watch the tapes. I'm going to have to go back. You know what? I'll go watch the tapes. I'll watch the tapes. Yeah. I feel like watching Star Wars. Haven't for a while, but I can't decide what show to watch. I feel like Ahsoka or Kenobi or maybe Mando Season 1. I can't decide. Help. Well, if you're looking for something live action, I mean, can't go wrong with Mando Season 1 or Ahsoka or Kenobi. Watch it all. But if you need one specifically, you know I'm going to say Ahsoka, so Ahsoka. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here because we're running out of time. Yeah, so we're not going to do that. We are running slightly out of time. So let's switch gears to the Poe Dameron of it all. Oscar Isaac. Talking about coming back to Star Wars. So let's do... All right, let's read this one. So, with this whole Rey movie happening, the possibility of John Boyega coming back as Finn, hopefully. The big other member of the big three for the sequel trilogy was Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac. And, well, he was asked about it. So let's see what he had to say. Oscar Isaac reveals his conditions for a Star Wars return. Oscar Isaac has revealed what it would take for him to return to Star Wars as Poe Dameron. Although the Star Wars sequel trilogy proved divisive, to say the least, there's no denying that it introduced compelling new characters for the next generation, of whom never got the chance to live up to their full potential. Poe was introduced to us as the best pilot in the galaxy. In that, I want more of. One such character is Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron, a fiercely talented Resistance pilot with a mysterious past and a close relationship with General Leia Organa. After Poe's misguided mutiny in The Last Jedi, the character was somewhat sidelined in the sequel trilogy's final installment, The Rise of Skywalker, as the focus shift onto Rey, Kylo, and Palpatine's return. He still does have a pretty big role in Rise, it's just not as big as the first movies. Despite having previously distanced himself from talking about any future with the Star Wars appearances, at the Venice Film Festival in 2021, Isaac said that he was desperate to do a character study after being in green screen Spaceland for a few years. Star Wars, that is. Issac tune was since changed. In a recent interview with Variety, the Frankenstein actor, because he's in the new movie Frankenstein, was asked if he would consider returning to Poe Dameron, and here's what he had to say. When asked when he would return as Poe Dameron, he borrows a line from The Simpsons in a high-pitched child's voice. "I'm in Star Wars." Then he said, "Yeah, I'd be in Star Wars again if there was something good to do with that." So, seemingly the tune has changed for many sequel actors and actresses. When Rise of Skywalker ended and they interviewed all these people, they were like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to do Star Wars, at least for a while. I'm all Star Wars'd out. We did this trilogy. We're done." As years passed, I'm sure they've had some conversations with Lucasfilm about coming back possibly for this Rey movie or a post-sequel story. It's changed. Now they're all saying, "I'd come back if the story is right. If this is right. If that is right. Of course, if the money is right." So, my question to you, chat, is do you want Poe Dameron back for the Rey movie or just in general for a post-sequel world? When you look at the post-sequels landscape, what the politics are going to look like, what the Jedi Order is going to look like, Poe is going to be a huge part of that. He was a leader of the Resistance in Episode 9, and he's going to continue to be a leader in a post-sequel world. Let's actually pull this up. Let's pull this up before we keep reading. Because he's already signed some contracts. He might have. He might already be signed on, for all we know. By the way, 86% of you do want a Skeleton Crew Season 2. Do you want Poe Dameron to return? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. And let's keep going. Oop, wrong. So, what Oscar Isaac's comments mean for Star Wars. This isn't the first time that Issac has mentioned the willingness to return to the galaxy far, far away. In 2022, 3 years ago, he told SiriusXM, "If there was a great story and a great director, and Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy came to me and was like, 'I have this great idea,' then I am so open to it." As most great actors are. The sequel trilogy story may be over, but the era has undoubtedly influenced Star Wars' upcoming projects. We got Starfighter, which, if it's about an actual Starfighter pilot, then Poe could be involved in that. But we got the Rey movie and Simon Kinberg's trilogy, which are all supposed to take place in a post-sequel world. That's the focus of the upcoming Star Wars projects. The Mandoverse and post-sequels. These are Starfighter with Ryan Gosling, set 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker. Daisy Ridley's return to the tentatively titled New Jedi Order, set 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker. Both films are exploring uncharted territories in Star Wars, which could create a good or great story that Issac was looking for. There is no reason that Poe Dameron couldn't show up for either of those two films. Details are being kept under wraps, so anything is still possible. So here's their take, and then we'll give ours. Though Poe Dameron's friendship with Rey means a cameo role in New Jedi Order is likely, the best place for him to return is probably in Starfighter, a standalone Star Wars movie directed by Sean Levy, or Levy. The Starfighter's title suggests that it will focus on the galaxy's pilots more than the other Star Wars movies or shows so far. While it is yet to be confirmed that Starfighter will feature, while it has been confirmed that Starfighter will feature mostly new faces, including Ryan Gosling, its yet to be named character. Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy also previously teased that the sequel trilogy characters may appear. By the end of Star Wars' sequel trilogy, Poe Dameron is in his prime, having accomplished some incredible feats as a Resistance pilot. Who better to introduce the new generation of Star Wars pilots? So the big problem with that is we don't know the plot of Starfighter, so we don't know if Poe could even be involved in that. I mean, maybe. But when it comes to a Rey movie, he should be there. Obviously, Finn should be there too. But these three, I should say, were the big trio in the sequel trilogy. Much like Luke, Leia, and Han are the big trio of the originals, and they're all in the sequels. it would make sense for Poe to be there. And he's kind of the leader of the resistance by the end. So he would likely be the leader of the new government, whatever that's going to be, whether it's the new Republic or something completely different. Whatever that may be, he should play a role in that story. So with that being said, do you want Poe Dameron back in Star Wars? Do you think Oscar Isaac will return? And if so, where? Where will he show up next? Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat. Is Mace Windu still alive or dead in canon? Well, I guess that's up for interpretation. I want Poe and Finn to come back. Oscar and John want better scripts and plans, and I agree with them. Yeah, I think the idea is you write up the trilogy first, or you write up the story first, and then you go to pitch it to John and Oscar. Yeah. Yeah. Did you know Poe was supposed to die in The Force Awakens? I did know that. I'm glad he didn't. We'll start there. But yes, he's supposed to die in the plane crash. Or not the plane crash, the TIE fighter crash. TIE fighter crash. Yeah. Poe's cool. Even if he's not my personal favorite, I'd be glad to see more of him. There you go. There you go. Starfighter seems like the perfect place for a cameo at least. I mean, just based off of the name Starfighter, yeah, but we don't know really the thing. Ryan Gosling could be Poe Dameron's wingman who leaves to save his nephew. Could be. Could be. Poe could also appear in something set before the sequels. Yeah, but I don't know if they're intending to make anything pre-sequels right now. At least close enough that Poe could be in it. Yeah. He needs to come back for the new Jedi Order movie. I agree. I agree. I don't know. It will be interesting to see how they go about this post-sequel world. Because like I said, however the universe looks, control-wise, the First Order's gone, the Empire's gone, the New Republic is gone. Who's in charge? I don't think Poe would make the greatest Supreme Chancellor like Mon Mothma did or like Palpatine did.
I got a bad feeling about this.
So I don't know how they would go about that. I really don't. Yeah. Oh, the Lego Batman trailer? I mean, yeah, it looks awesome. Yeah. It looks awesome. Not to get too sidetracked, but I mean, the way that it does like all the stuff in the movies and the Arkham games. Come on. Mon Mothma's daughter, maybe? Interesting. Now, they did just give Mon Mothma a daughter and then never talk about it again, huh? Fascinating. The more you know. Is Oscar going to be in Avengers Doomsday? Oh, as Moon Knight? The rumor is he will be, but I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. Yeah. I'm not too sure. Yeah. But either way, it seems like the majority of you, as 83% of you on the poll say, you want to see Poe Dameron come back. And I agree. I think there's no way you tell a post-sequel story without him. At least that everybody would be asking, where is Poe the whole time? So hopefully they do involve him in that story. And it seems like it would be a very feel-good moment if they brought the original trio back. And by original, I mean sequel trio back of Rey, Poe, Finn. Hopefully. They need to return. Yeah. They need to return. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so, the Andor thing. So Andor, yeah, they've been doing this big thing with Andor. They're trying to push it for the Emmy nominations for season 2. And they've been doing all these different promotional stuff and all that greatness. So there's been a lot of that online. But yeah. Oh my God. Greg with a very generous $5 holla says Coke equals the real thing. New Coke equals fake failure. CGI Yoda equals new Coke. CGI Yoda versus spinning helicopter lightsaber equals new Coke. Tip your hosts. What? Let me read that again. Hang on. Coke equals the real thing. New Coke equals fake failure. CGI Yoda equals new Coke. CGI Yoda with spinning helicopter lightsaber equals new Coke. Tip your host. Yes. I don't know. There's no way they could have done a non-CGI Yoda in Attack of the Clones in the Revenge of the Sith. And honestly, I like the Puppet Yoda in the original trilogy. Puppet Yoda in Phantom Menace, it's terrible. It's horrible. I'm very glad they replaced him with CGI Yoda. Mike, you're too young to know what new Coke is. All right, now I got to know what new Coke is. I got to look up what new Coke means, chat. New Coke. Oh my God. Is this real? New Coke was a 18. You guys are old. 1985 product that replaced the original Coca-Cola formula, featuring a sweeter, smoother taste and sparkling widespread public backlash. Or sorry, sparkling widespread. It looks bad. Just the can looks bad. And I don't even like Coke. That's crazy. So I'm guessing that didn't last long. Coke. Oh, hang on. New Coke. The product was eventually renamed to Coke 2 and discontinued in 2002. So it lasted for almost 20 years. It was discontinued the year I was born, so that's why I don't remember. New Coke was a big conspiracy? Oh my God. The Star Wars Cokes have been fun to collect. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. At least they got away from the new Coke, I guess. Can't say I remember no spinning lightsaber helicopters. Oh, yes, you do. Rebels. It is such a weird thing that they introduced there. Like, will we ever see that in live action where somebody's spinning like a helicopter? I certainly hope not. But we'll see. They also made clear Coke, like water. I hope not. But I appreciate the super chats. I really, really do. All right, let me end this poll. Is Keller and Beck going to return? Yeah, I hope so. We need to know if he survived, and after he went into hiding in Order 66, was he... Wait, what? Was he orchestrated? Or wait, what? When Order 66 was orchestrated. I want more Keller and Beck just because I want to know what happened to Grogu. Because there's like 20 plus years, 25 years in between where Keller and Beck saves Grogu from the Jedi Temple and where we see Grogu again in The Mandalorian. So we need to know what happened in between those years. Yeah. Absolutely. And 81% of you guys do want Poe Dameron to return, and I hope you all are right. We should get Agent Callus back. That'd be cool too. I'd be down for that. I hope he survived because he has the skills of a Jedi Master. I hope so too, but it's likely that the Inquisitors and Vader hunted him down and killed him. But then what happens to Grogu after that? Does the Empire capture him? It'll be interesting. All right, but I do have to get on out of here. I got to go finish up a short for later on tonight about Bo-Katan, so watch out for that. And yes, the breaking news today was this book that was just announced, Jaws of Jakku, which comes out October 9th. This looks like it's... When does this take place? She's got BB-8, but she's also got Anakin's lightsaber. Looks like maybe right before the end of Rise? I don't even know. No, it's on Jakku. This doesn't make any sense. Go back to Jakku? Interesting. Let's see if I refresh it. Let's have any more news on this thing. Okay, here we go. I was right. Jaws of Jakku. The story takes place between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker and follows Rey as she returns to her home world of Jakku, where she encounters a haunting terror from the past. The more you know. The more you know. Okay. With that, I do have to get on out of here. Smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe and hit that bell to get notified every time I post a video. In my pretty face, will show up with the recommended feed of yours. Huge shout outs to... Oh, hang on. Huge shout outs to Greg, Aaron, Alexander, Ron, Greg again. Darth Plagueis lives, and 50 Thunder for the very generous Super Chats. Super Chats memberships keep the lights on over here, so I appreciate you all so much more than you'll ever know. Skeleton Crew Season 2, maybe. Acolyte Season 2, probably not. But is it a top 3 lightsaber duel of all time? I certainly think so, but you tell me. And Poe Dameron returning, hopefully. That's the dream. But smash a freaking like on this stream on your way out if you have not already. Hit that subscribe. And hit that bell to get notified every time I post a video. My pretty face will show up with the recommended feed of yours. And may the force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. This was quite the live stream. I mean, the news just keeps on getting better. And next week, we got a D23 to look forward to. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys this, but on Saturday, the live stream will be at noon, 12, not 2. So I'll remind the Discord, but watch out for that. 2 hours early on Saturday. Watch out for that. But until then, hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.